Building high-performing teams has nothing to do with fancy team building exercises or some magical management framework that will transform your underperforming team overnight. As much as I would like to sit here and say that, and trust me, it would really make what we do much easier, it's just not the reality. The reality is, in order to build high-performing teams, you need some fundamentals in place, which I think most leaders I talk to just don't seem to have. So in this video, I'm going to take you through those fundamentals, the 3 proven strategies that helped us build an elite teams across Fortune 500 companies, fast-growing startups, and everything else in between. Here's something that might surprise you. The biggest mistake that I see isn't necessarily bad hiring, it's what happens after you bring on the great people. Most leaders focus on hiring the best, but then actually forget that even the best players fail without the right team and the right game plan. So here is our strategy number 1, the team operating system, essentially a playbook for a high-performance team. Now, it's true that a team isn't just a collection of individuals, it's actually a system in its entirety. And that system needs a clear operating structure in order for it to succeed. If you think of a Formula 1 pit crew, each person has their own mission, and their success depends on the precision, the coordination, and the clarity of everybody else. Now, the same actually applies to your team, and here's how to build your team operating system. Firstly, we want really crystal clear roles. Each member within your team should be able to define their role within one sentence. And if they can't, then it's a sign that there is some sort of clarity issue. Secondly, each person needs to have their own performance metrics, and that actually drives success. So instead of just tracking individuals' output, we want to see how we can measure the roles and see how they interact to creating results. Third, we had structured communication flows. And in order for us to avoid those endless Slack messages and nonsense meetings, we really need to set clear channels that might be our daily, our weekly, and our project-based updates. Which also then means that we can have our additional calibration sessions. So instead of waiting for annual reviews or bi-weekly check-ins, we can then just adjust in real time. Now, one company that we work with didn't actually change their people, they just changed their systems with this blueprint. And within just 60 days, their project completion rate, which was their North Star metric, increased by 67%. Now, one of the simplest ways to fix these gaps is to actually document and standardize your processes. That's exactly why we built Waybook, so you don't have to rely on endless meetings and scattered documents in order to keep your team aligned. Now, here's where most leaders get completely lost. They obsess over individual performance metrics when the real secret to the team's success is actually looking at something entirely different. So this brings us to our second strategy, which is turning our star players into super teams. And this is about the performance multiplier effect. Now, focusing on only individual productivity is like training for a relay race by just running on your own. But that's not how relay teams win. What actually happens is we have to boost our entire team's performance by having things like shared success metrics. So instead of pitting employees against each other, create team-based goals that encourage our collaboration. We also want to focus on cross-functional integration, breaking down the silos in our teams. So if your marketing and your sales and your product teams aren't sharing the insights, that you're really lacking on their performance. And finally, we want to have rapid feedback loops. So we don't really want to be waiting for these quarterly reviews. We want to have these weekly team calibration settings to adjust and improve in real time, just like what we were looking at before. Now, in a real world example, we've recently worked with a mid-sized SaaS company that were ultimately struggling with their internal competition between their sales and their customer success. Now, the sales reps were actually hitting their individual quotas, but really just closing on bad customers that were leading to higher churn down the line. Meanwhile, our customer success team was just stressed because they were handling unhappy clients, which just really led to friction between those two teams. So the way this business solved this was they actually scrapped those individual quotas and they replaced them with the team-wide revenue and retention goals. So sales and customer success worked together really well, and the result was a 28% drop in churn and a 40% improvement in expansion revenue because customer success could actually focus on really helping the customers that naturally had a great fit. Now, in order for you to make this shift, you really do try and need to have a system that keeps your knowledge and your progress transparent. Now, one thing that Waybook helps you do is to really ensure that every individual can have a shared objective, so the team just isn't working hard, but actually working hard together. The final strategy is probably the most crucial, yet it's one almost everybody overlooks until it's too late. Think of it as an insurance policy against your growth problems. This strategy number 3 is how we can scale without breaking. It's what we like to call the 3-layer growth model. Now, scaling doesn't actually create chaos. It exposes the weaknesses that were already there. So if your company is struggling at 20 people, then it will be 10 times worse at 200. The 3-layer growth model for scaling teams focuses on, firstly, layer 1, the foundation. And this is really in before we grow. It standardizes our onboarding processes that get new hires up to productivity really fast. It documents their workflows and actually really supports their best practices, so knowledge isn't locked in one person's head. Systematic knowledge sharing really eliminates all of these bottlenecks, which takes us on to layer 2, growth, really growing as we scale. This is about leadership development pathways to prevent accidental managers and also having cross-training programs to avoid single points of failure within our team. Within this, we can start to look at performance optimization tools to measure and refine processes continuously, which takes us on to layer 3, which is about leadership, essentially sustaining performance as we scale. So here we have autonomous decision-making frameworks so our teams can move really fast without micromanagement of upper management. And also cultural reinforcement mechanisms that maintain value and missions as the teams grow. Here we can really scale the delegation so our leaders aren't overwhelmed with every single decision that they make. Now, we've recently worked with a fast-growing company and they're already now at 200 people within 18 months. At first, the leaders were involved in every decision, which really slowed everything down. But when they implemented this 3-layer approach, autonomous decision-making and delegation systems, their teams were able to execute without waiting for those approvals. Now, what happened here was faster execution, happier employees, and a leadership team that was focused on high-impact decisions. Now, the easiest way to prevent those scaling chaos is to actually build those scalable systems before you need them. Now, Waybook really helps you make sure that your best practices and processes scale within your team so you don't have to firefight growth problems later. So there you have it. That is the fundamentals on how you build high-performing teams this year. Now, while I know there is a lot here, but if you want to take away any one of these strategies that I mentioned, then I'm sure you'll see an absolute improvement in your business and your team's performance in as little as 30 days. But here's the thing though, implementing these strategies requires a really strong foundation. You need a system that helps you build, that helps you document and scale these processes across your entire organization. So that's exactly why we created Waybook, to help businesses like yours implement these strategies without the chaos across your teams. Right now, you can sign up for your 7-day free trial of Waybook, and during your free trial, you can get full access to all of Waybook's powerful features. You'll be able to start creating your own business playbook. You'll be able to streamline your onboarding processes and actually see firsthand how Waybook can help transform your business operations. So really don't let poor team processes hold back your businesses any longer. I encourage you to click the link in the description below to start your 7-day free trial of Waybook, and then you can take the first steps towards building a more efficient, a more scalable, and of course, a more profitable business. If you wanted to hear a little bit more about Waybook, feel free to check out this video on the 7 best features to get you started within your Waybook account. And please feel free to like or subscribe if you wanted to get any more content on scaling your business. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you enjoy some smooth scaling.